In the crowded trade station of Heliosport, people from many worlds gathered, each with their own hopes and dreams. The station was alive with the sounds of lively chatter, the hum of engines, and the soft peeps of machinery. Amid the busy crowd worked a young man named Joran. He was not born a hero or a leader. He was simply a kind and hard-working individual who believed that even the smallest act of care could make a difference. Joran spent most of his days fixing small shuttles and running errands for the various traders. Every task, no matter how simple, was done with quiet determination. One warm afternoon, while he was busy in a repair dock, a sudden commotion drew his attention. A group of traders had gathered around a large, flickering hologram that showed news from distant star systems. Their voices rose in excitement and worry, and one name was mentioned that sent a thrill through Joran's heart: Empress Aurora. Empress Aurora was a name spoken in hushed tones across the galaxy. She was known as the most powerful woman in all the stars, a leader with wisdom, strength, and a deep sense of justice. Few had seen her face, yet her influence reached every corner of the galaxy. Joran had grown up on stories of her fairness and courage, and even though he had never imagined meeting someone so grand, her name sparked something inside him that day. As the days slowly turned to evening, the energy in Heliosport shifted. The once noisy corridors became calm, and the bright lights of the station reflected a quiet hope. Joran returned to his work, but his thoughts kept drifting back to the stories of the Empress. Earlier that day, while he was mending a broken panel, he had noticed a young traveler struggling with a heavy bag. Without a second thought, Joran had stepped forward to help her gather her scattered belongings. The traveler had thanked him with a warm smile, and in that moment, Joran felt that his small act of kindness had a deeper meaning. That night, as he walked home under a sky filled with shimmering stars, Joran saw a gentle glow high above the station. It was as if the night itself had come alive with promise. The light was soft and peaceful, and it filled him with a sense of calm and wonder. He did not know what it meant, but he felt deep in his heart that something extraordinary was about to unfold. The following morning, Joran was startled awake by the gentle chime of his communicator. A bright message flashed on its screen, written in clear and simple words. It invited him to travel to a distant place called Celestial Haven, a station known for its advanced technology and mysterious visitors. The message was brief, yet every word felt as if it was meant just for him. With a mix of excitement and nervousness, Joran decided to accept the invitation. He believed that every moment in life carried a purpose, and now he felt that he was meant to follow this new path. Before leaving, Joran carefully prepared for his journey. He washed his simple clothes, checked his few belongings, and made sure his tools were ready. He recalled his humble life at Heliosport, where every day was filled with hard work and small, meaningful moments. With these thoughts in his mind, he boarded a small shuttle that would take him to Celestial Haven. As the shuttle lifted off, Joran looked back at the familiar station one last time, feeling both grateful for his past and curious about his future. During the journey through space, Joran gazed out at the endless stars that twinkled like scattered diamonds on a dark cloth. He remembered the stories he had heard about Empress Aurora, a leader who used her power not for control, but to inspire hope and bring people together. Though he was just a simple man, Joran believed that his own acts of kindness could be part of a much larger plan. The gentle hum of the shuttle's engine seemed to carry the promise of new beginnings and adventures yet to come. As the shuttle neared Celestial Haven, Joran's heart beat faster with anticipation. The station was a marvel of modern design, with smooth, shining surfaces and bright corridors that invited travelers to explore its secrets. Every step he took was filled with a quiet excitement, as if the very walls of the station whispered that great things were on the horizon. At that moment, Joran realized that life was not just about the routine of daily work. It was about the unexpected chances that brought people together, the small moments that could spark a change, and the hope that even the simplest person could make a difference in a vast, mysterious universe. As he stepped onto the station, He carried with him the belief that his life was about to change in ways he could never have imagined. Joran's journey had only just begun, but he was ready. With a heart full of hope and a spirit of quiet determination, he embraced the unknown. The spark of his kindness was not small at all. It was a beacon of light that had reached even the most powerful corners of the galaxy. And as he moved forward, he knew that every step, every simple act, was part of a grander story yet to be told. Gazing out at the vastness of space, the endless sea of stars stretched in front of him like a boundless ocean, filled with mysteries he had never imagined. His heart raced as he tried to wrap his mind around what had brought him here. Just a few days ago, he had been working in the humble repair docks of Heliosport, unaware that this moment was coming. The message had been simple, almost too simple, inviting him to a place that now felt both distant and near. The message didn't give much away, a short note, barely longer than an index card. Yet it had carried weight in his heart, more powerful than anything he had ever read. Something told him that his life was about to change, and it wasn't just the thrill of the unknown that made his pulse quicken. It was the sense that this journey was meant for him, a mere nobody, plucked from obscurity for a purpose he didn't fully understand. As Joran moved through the gleaming corridors of Celestial Haven, he could feel the allure of its advanced technologies and mysterious past. The station was empty, save for a few travelers who passed by, engrossed in their own thoughts and tasks. The walls, smooth and illuminated with soft lights, displayed holograms of distant stars and planets, like a map of the galaxy itself. Everything about this place spoke of power, knowledge, and mysteries beyond imagination. To others, the station might be just another waypoint for intergalactic trade or scientific research, but to Joran, it held a mystery he was determined to solve. He moved through the station with purpose, following the faint directions displayed on the wall. His thoughts were interrupted when he heard the sound of footsteps behind him. Joran turned around, just in time to see a tall figure approach, a woman dressed in a deep, royal blue that shimmered subtly, reflecting the space beyond. She had an air about her, something regal, something larger than life. Her presence seemed to command the room without a word. When she stepped closer, Joran's breath caught in his chest. She was beautiful, of course, but it wasn't just her appearance. The indefinable strength radiating from her made her stand apart from everyone he had ever met. She wasn't just another face in the crowd. She was something extraordinary. "Joran," she said in a calm voice, yet it seemed to echo around him, resonating in every fiber of his being. It was as though her words had weight, a command that could not be ignored. Joran froze. She knew his name. He had never seen her before, yet she knew who he was. He may have expected the Empress to be a legend, an elusive figure far beyond his reach, but in this moment, nothing felt out of place. Here on Celestial Haven, the impossible seemed achievable. "You must be wondering why you're here," she continued after a pause, her gaze never leaving his face. "It is not by chance that you have been invited to this station. Someone of your character, someone who emanates kindness without expectation, is rare even in the farthest reaches of the stars." Joran couldn't help but blink in confusion. "I don't understand," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The Empress smiled faintly, a soft curve of her lips, as though she had expected the question. She gently raised one hand, and before Joran could comprehend what was happening, a glowing hologram appeared between them, a map of fluctuating lights, showing the galaxy in all its complexity. "The galaxy is vast, and the power it holds can easily corrupt," she explained, her voice soft but carrying authority. "The beings who control its stars and systems, the great empires and factions, all have their own goals and ambitions, but they are blind to something crucial, something that lies within those who are ordinary or insignificant." Joran's mind raced. Was she referring to him as insignificant? That would be absurd. He was just a mechanic. He had never commanded fleets or ruled grand cities, or even stood before a council of leaders. Yet in her eyes, Perhaps he was something more. You see, she continued, while others have power in things that they consider important, resources, weapons, wealth, there is a deeper strength to be found. A strength in humility, in compassion, and in the resilience of a people who cannot be easily broken. That is the strength of humanity. Joran blinked. The Empress was speaking of humanity, not of machines or superhumans, but of normal people, people like him, with no great wealth or special bloodlines. It was hard to believe someone so powerful would speak of him as though he had a part to play in something larger than a life spent in a repair dock. But a part of him felt like he understood what she meant. You are here because humanity has shown time and again that it can rise up, even in the darkest hours. Your ingenuity, your perseverance, your ability to inspire, the galaxy has much to learn from these traits. And I need you, Joran, to help show the universe what a difference this could make. Joran had never been part of something this important before. His whole life had been filled with the basics: work, responsibility, and the occasional moment of joy. Now, he was thrust into the unknown, where his simple dignity and compassion were seen as qualities that could shift the balance of power across the stars. It felt like a heavy burden, but the Empress was right. He had never seen a galactic struggle that could only be fought with force. What he gave to those around him, even in such small ways, was now of value. This is bigger than you imagine, she added. There is a disturbance that threatens everything. A darkness lies on the horizon, and none of the great powers of the galaxy have the means to stop it. But together, you and I, and others like you, can face it. The words echoed in Joran's mind, and though fear lingered, a deeper sense of purpose settled in his chest. He had been chosen, not for his battle skills or power, but for something that few could truly grasp. And now he understood where this path would lead. Joran nodded slowly, wiping his palm across his face, as if to check that he wasn't just dreaming all of this. After a long silence, he spoke in a low voice. I am ready, he said, for 38 seconds. Part 2. The Summons Across the Void. Joran stood on the small deck of the freighter as it left Heliosport behind. The cool metal floor beneath his feet reminded him of the long road ahead. The ship, called the Star Wanderer, was far from new. Its faded paint and worn panels told stories of many past journeys. Yet the vessel was sturdy and ready to face the vast unknown. The crew greeted Joran with warm smiles and gentle nods, and he felt both nervous and excited. Every step he took on this ship reminded him that he was now part of a journey greater than himself. As the Star Wanderer sailed deeper into space, Joran often found himself gazing out of the large, round observation window. The dark void was dotted with countless stars, each twinkling like a distant promise. These points of light filled him with wonder and a quiet hope. He remembered the tales of Empress Aurora, and he believed that every star might carry a hint of the destiny that awaited him. The silence of space was vast, but within it lay a promise that his life was about to change. During the early days of the journey, the crew encountered an unexpected cosmic storm. A sudden burst of bright, chaotic light struck the ship, causing it to shudder and groan. The experienced pilot, Carol, worked with calm precision at the controls. His hands moved quickly, guiding the Star Wanderer through the swirling chaos. The storm roared with a wild energy that shook the very bones of the ship, and crew members gripped their seats tightly. Joran's heart pounded as he felt the force of the storm, yet he also sensed that this trial was meant to test their resolve. Slowly, with steady determination and teamwork, the crew managed to steer clear of danger. When the storm finally subsided, a deep calm settled over the ship, and the crew exhaled in relief, knowing that they had overcome a formidable challenge. In the quieter moments after the storm, Joran found solace in conversation with his fellow travelers. He spent time with Mira, a gentle crew member whose soft voice spoke of hope and resilience. Mira explained how the stars often held secrets for those who were brave enough to look. She told him stories of far-off worlds and the lessons learned from wandering among them. Joran listened with great interest, feeling that every word was a stepping stone toward understanding his own purpose. Their chats filled the long hours of space travel with meaning, making the void between stars seem less lonely. One evening, while most of the crew rested, Joran ventured to the ship's quiet observation deck. The vast emptiness of space stretched out before him, punctuated only by shimmering stars. In that peaceful moment, he recalled the simple act of kindness that had set his journey in motion. He remembered the traveler he had helped at Heliosport and realized that his compassion was part of a much larger tapestry. In the silence of space, Joran understood that the journey was not merely about reaching a destination. It was a path of self-discovery, where every star and every moment carried a lesson about hope and resilience. Midway through the voyage, a soft, almost whisper-like signal came through on the ship's communication system. The message was brief and written in clear, simple words. "Welcome, Joran. Your journey is seen." These words made his heart skip a beat. They were a gentle reminder that his invitation was not a mere accident, but a call meant just for him. The crew gathered around the console to read the message, and an air of wonder filled the room. Even though the full meaning of the words was still a mystery, everyone felt that they were part of a greater plan. This message, coming from the depths of space, confirmed for Joran that his path was guided by forces beyond his understanding. As the days passed, the Star Wanderer entered a region known as the Nebula Passage. This area was filled with swirling clouds of colorful gas and tiny fragments of cosmic dust. The sight was both beautiful and eerie, as the light from distant stars was bent and twisted by the nebula's mysterious forces. The captain of the ship, a calm and steady man named Rylan, navigated the vessel with care through the maze of glowing clouds. The crew worked together to keep the ship safe, their movements precise and their focus sharp. Joran watched in awe as the nebula revealed its hidden beauty, each burst of color a reminder that even in chaos there was art and order. This part of the journey taught him that challenges could also be moments of wonder and growth. Throughout the voyage, every experience reinforced Joran's belief in the strength of the human spirit. He learned that even in the face of danger, hope could shine as brightly as any star. The hardships of space travel were many, yet each obstacle also offered a chance to learn and to become stronger. With every new challenge, from fierce cosmic storms to the silent beauty of nebula, Joran felt more certain that his path was one of destiny. At last, as the Star Wanderer drew closer to Celestial Haven, excitement grew among the crew. The ship's corridors buzzed with anticipation, and every face reflected the belief that they were nearing something extraordinary. Joran, looking out once more at the endless sky, felt his heart swell with determination. The soft glow of distant lights promised that his encounter with Empress Aurora and the secrets of his invitation were almost within reach. In that quiet moment, he realized that the long journey through the void had transformed him. He was no longer just a simple man from Heliosport. He was a traveler carrying hope, ready to meet the challenges of a new destiny. And so, with the stars as his guide and his heart full of quiet resolve, Joran stepped forward into the unknown, eager for what awaited at Celestial Haven. Every moment, every trial had led him to this point, and he embraced the journey with all the hope and courage he could muster. Joran stepped through the towering gates of the Celestial Citadel and felt a mix of wonder and nervousness. The great structure stretched high into the sky, its walls made of polished stone and shimmering glass. The corridors inside glowed with soft light, and the air carried a quiet hum of ancient energy. It was clear that every corner of this citadel held secrets from long ago. And now, it was also the place where Joran would be tested. The citadel was not just a building. It was a space designed to challenge every part of his mind and heart. His first test began in a long hall lined with tall columns that seemed to whisper in the silence. On the smooth floor lay a series of stone tiles, each marked with strange symbols. As he walked carefully forward, The tiles lit up in soft blue light with each step he took. Soon, a voice echoed gently through the hall, inviting him to solve a puzzle. The voice said that the correct path would be revealed only to someone who listened to both reason and intuition. Joran paused and studied the symbols. With simple thought and steady determination, he began to press the tiles in a sequence that felt right in his heart. When the final tile glowed a warm gold, the stone door at the end of the hall slid open. In that moment, Joran felt a surge of pride. He had solved the puzzle not by force, but by trusting his inner voice. Beyond the hall, the second trial awaited him in a vast chamber that seemed to float in a space of endless light. This room was filled with gentle obstacles that tested his physical endurance and careful thought. A soft mist drifted through the air, and platforms of various sizes hovered in midair. The challenge was simple yet tricky. Joran needed to move from one platform to another without losing his balance. The platforms shifted slowly and sometimes hesitated in mid-motion, as if waiting for him to make the next step. Joran took a deep breath and focused on the rhythm of the movement. With each careful step, he moved closer to the far side of the chamber. The task was not hard in strength, but it required patience and calm. Every time he landed on a platform, he reminded himself that every step mattered. By the time he reached the final platform, he felt that his body and mind were working together as one. After this physical test, Joran entered a quieter room that felt like a sanctuary of thought. In this space, the walls were lined with softly glowing panels that showed scenes from his own past. He saw moments of joy, times when he had shown kindness, and even moments when he had felt doubt. The test here was not a puzzle or a physical challenge, but one of inner reflection. A gentle, unseen guide asked him to look at these images and understand the lessons hidden in each memory. Joran took his time. He remembered the traveler at Heliosport whom he had helped, and he recalled every act of kindness that had defined his life so far. As he watched the scenes, he realized that his strength did not lie only in his actions, but also in his heart. Each memory was a sign of his resilience and his ability to care for others. With each moment of reflection, the images on the walls grew brighter, and soon the room filled with a warm light that seemed to acknowledge his inner truth. The final trial in the citadel was a test of resolve and courage. Joran found himself in a long, narrow corridor where the only guide was a soft, echoing voice that asked him difficult questions. The voice did not speak harshly or in anger. Instead, it asked him to examine his hopes and fears. What drives you forward? It asked. What do you believe is the true strength of your heart? Joran answered in his quiet, simple words. He spoke of his belief in kindness and the power of hope. He talked about his desire to see a better future for all, and about the small acts that could make a big change. With every word, he felt the weight of the questions lift, replaced by a clear understanding of who he was. The corridor grew longer, and the voice grew softer, until finally, the path opened into a grand hall filled with light. In the grand hall, the silent presence of Empress Aurora was felt in every beam of light and every echo in the space. Though Joran could not see her face yet, he knew that these trials were set by the one known as the most powerful woman in the galaxy. The hall was designed to let him see the results of his efforts. Here, he saw reflections of his actions in the form of gentle images dancing on the walls, a man who helped others, a traveler who trusted his heart, and a soul that never gave up despite the fear of the unknown. As Joran walked slowly across the hall, he felt that each step was a step toward a greater understanding of himself. The trials had shown him that strength came in many forms. In careful thought, in steady patience, in gentle reflection, and in the courage to answer the hardest questions. He felt ready to continue his journey, no longer as the simple man who had left Heliosport, but as someone who had discovered a deeper truth about his own inner light. When the light finally dimmed, marking the end of the trials, a soft voice spoke from the shadows. It congratulated him for passing the tests of the celestial citadel and assured him that his qualities had been seen. Joran's heart swelled with both relief and pride. He had faced the challenges set before him, and had emerged stronger, with a clear sense of purpose and hope. With a final deep breath, Joran stepped forward, ready for the next chapter of his journey, confident in the power of his own heart and the promise of the future that lay ahead. Joran stepped slowly into a grand chamber at the heart of the celestial citadel. The room was vast and filled with a soft, gentle light that came from large, curved windows along the walls. Outside, the stars twinkled in the dark space, and the quiet hum of distant galaxies filled the air. In the center of the chamber stood a tall dais, and upon it was a throne of smooth, dark stone. It was there that Empress Aurora awaited him. Joran's heart beat faster as he moved closer. He had heard many stories of Empress Aurora, and now he was face to face with the legend. The Empress was known throughout the galaxy not only for her great power, but also for her wisdom and compassion. She was a symbol of hope and fairness for many. As Joran approached, he could feel that he was in the presence of someone who carried both great strength and deep kindness. The Empress rose from her throne, her robe flowing gently around her. Her eyes shone with a soft light, and her voice was calm as she greeted him. "Welcome, Joran," she said in clear, gentle words. "I have seen your heart and your deeds. I have watched you overcome challenges and show kindness even when the path was hard." Her tone was both warm and firm, and Joran felt that every word was meant to guide him. They moved to a quieter corner of the chamber where a small round table was set. The Empress gestured for him to sit. With a mix of awe and respect, Joran sat down, trying to steady his thoughts. He looked at the Empress and saw a depth of understanding in her eyes, as if she held the stories of many worlds within her gaze. After a few moments of silence, Empress Aurora began to speak. "I have chosen you for a reason that may seem strange, but it is the truth. Our galaxy faces a threat that is both new and old. There is a force rising in the far reaches of space, a force that seeks to take away the light of hope, to make many worlds fall into darkness. This force does not seek power for its own sake. It seeks to control and to crush the spirit of those who dare to dream." Her voice was soft, but carried an air of warning that made the air feel heavy. Joran listened with great care. He had known that there was trouble in the galaxy, but he had never imagined it was so close and so real. The Empress explained that the force came from a place where old ideas of control had hardened into a cold will to dominate. "They do not understand the beauty of freedom," she said. "They believe that order is only found through force, and that the spirit of hope is a weakness." Joran's mind raced as he thought of his own simple life at Heliosport, of the small acts of kindness that had led him on this journey. Now he saw that these acts were part of a larger tapestry, a tapestry woven with hope and the promise of freedom for all. "Why have you chosen me?" he asked quietly. "I am only a simple man. I do not hold power, and I have never fought a great battle." Empress Aurora smiled gently. "It is not power alone that makes a person strong," she replied. "It is the courage to care, to hope, and to stand up for what is right. I have seen that in you, Joran. Your kindness, your steady determination, and your willingness to help others. These are the true marks of strength. In a time when many will be tempted to give in to fear, you will be a light to guide them. The reason I have chosen you is simple. I believe that the hope of many rests on the shoulders of one who dares to be kind." Her words sank deep into Joran's heart. He began to understand that his journey was not just about facing physical challenges or solving puzzles. It was about showing that even a small act of goodness could have a great impact on the universe. Empress Aurora told him that the force rising in the galaxy was not invincible. "They thrive on division and despair," she explained. "But if we stand together, if we hold on to hope, we can defeat the darkness. You have a role to play in uniting people, in reminding them that strength is found in love and unity." The Empress then revealed more about the threat. She described a vast network of machines and agents that had begun to take control of isolated worlds. These agents worked silently, spreading fear and disrupting the natural flow of life. They are not mindless, she warned. They are guided by an ancient doctrine that sees emotion and hope as threats to order. If they succeed, many will lose not only their freedom, but also the very spirit that makes life worth living. As she spoke, Joran felt a mix of fear and resolve. The thought of many worlds falling into such cold order troubled him deeply. Yet the Empress's belief in hope and unity sparked a determination within him. He realized that his journey, though it had started in the humblest of ways, had now become part of a fight to preserve the beauty of life and the strength of the human spirit. Empress Aurora concluded her revelation with a promise. "I will stand with you, and I will lend you all the knowledge and strength that I possess," she said softly. "But remember, the true power lies within you, and within the hearts of those you will meet along the way. You are the spark that can ignite a flame of hope in even the darkest of times." Her eyes shone as if lit by the very stars outside, and in that moment, Joran felt both the weight and the beauty of the task ahead. Joran nodded slowly, feeling the deep sense of purpose growing inside him. He understood that his journey was now intertwined with the fate of many, and that his simple acts of kindness might be the key to inspiring a galaxy to stand against despair. As he left the chamber, the words of Empress Aurora echoed in his mind. He stepped into the soft light of the corridor with a heart full of resolve, ready to carry the message of hope and to stand for all that was good in the universe. In that quiet chamber, the Empress's revelation had set Joran on a path that would change not only his own life, but the lives of many across the stars. Joran spent the following days in a new part of the Citadel that was filled with quiet study halls, training arenas, and peaceful gardens. Here, he was no longer just a visitor. He had become a student and a partner in the Empress's grand plan. Every morning, as soft light filled the corridors, he met with Empress Aurora in a modest training room. Though the room was simple, it held many secrets of ancient wisdom and modern science. The Empress believed that true strength came from the union of mind and heart, and she was determined to share that lesson with him. In the training room, Aurora taught Joran not with harsh words, but with gentle guidance. She showed him techniques to calm his thoughts and to listen to the quiet voice within him. Each session began with slow, measured breathing and simple movements that connected body and mind. At first, Joran struggled with the routines, his hands and legs feeling clumsy. Yet, under Aurora's patient watch, he learned to let go of his fears. With every small step forward, he discovered that there was great strength in patience and in the willingness to learn. After each training session, the pair would walk through the Citadel's lush gardens. The gardens were a safe haven of vibrant green plants and soft, winding paths. Here, the Empress would often pause to admire a rare flower or listen to the gentle sound of a distant fountain. It was in these quiet moments that a special bond began to form between them. Joran saw that behind the Empress's strong and confident exterior was a kind heart that cared deeply for every living thing. In turn, Aurora found in Joran a spark of genuine hope, a simple reminder that even in a vast and complex galaxy, kindness could light the darkest paths. One afternoon, while sitting on a stone bench under a large flowering tree, Aurora spoke softly about her past. "I did not always carry the weight of the galaxy on my shoulders," she began. "I was once like you, a traveler with hopes and dreams. I learned that our differences are our strengths, and that every act of goodness, however small, builds the foundation for a better future." Joran listened intently, his eyes fixed on the Empress's gentle expression. Her words filled him with warmth and made him feel that his simple acts of kindness were valued. In her story, he saw reflections of his own life, and the two of them began to understand that they were connected by a shared vision of hope and unity. As days turned into weeks, the bond between Joran and Aurora grew stronger. Together, they spent long hours poring over ancient texts and modern schematics alike. In a quiet study filled with soft light and gentle whispers of turning pages, they discussed plans to bring people together across the galaxy. Joran contributed fresh ideas drawn from his experiences at Heliosport, ideas that were humble yet full of heart. Aurora listened carefully and encouraged him, knowing that every new idea was a step towards a brighter future. Their collaboration was more than a meeting of minds. It was a fusion of spirit and will. During one of their study sessions, Joran shared a memory of a small act of kindness that had changed his day at Heliosport. He spoke of a moment when he helped a lost traveler find her way. Though the gesture was simple, the traveler's grateful smile had lit up his entire day. Aurora smiled warmly at his story, saying, "It is these small moments that shape our destiny. Each kind act is a thread in the great tapestry of life." Her words resonated deeply with Joran. He realized that his own quiet determination was not a weakness, but a strength that could inspire others when shared in the right way. Their bond was further tested one crisp morning when a sudden challenge arose in the Citadel. A malfunction in the energy core had disrupted the calm of the entire building, causing lights to flicker and alarms to sound softly, while the staff hurried to fix the problem. Joran and Aurora worked side by side to help calm the nervous visitors. With a few kind words and steady actions, they reassured those who felt afraid. In that moment, their bond shone brightly. It was not forged in ease, but in the willingness to face unexpected trials together. The visitors, moved by their calm and compassionate handling of the crisis, left with a renewed sense of hope. In the days that followed, as normalcy returned, Joran realized that the bond he shared with Aurora was more than a teacher-student relationship. It was a true partnership built on respect, understanding, and mutual care. The Empress began to trust him with more secrets of the Citadel and the plans to unite scattered worlds against the looming threat. With every new secret shared and every strategy discussed, their connection deepened, showing both that real strength was not measured by power alone, but by the courage to share one's heart. Evenings in the Citadel grew into moments of gentle reflection. Sitting on the balcony that overlooked the stars, Joran and Aurora often spoke about their dreams for a peaceful galaxy. They laughed softly at small, shared jokes and planned for a future where no one would be alone in the vast universe. Their growing bond became a beacon of hope, a living proof that sometimes the most unexpected partnerships could spark monumental change. In that sacred space of learning and togetherness, Joran began to see himself not as a simple man from Heliosport, but as a vital part of something greater. His journey had taught him that every act of kindness was a step towards unity, and that the unbreakable bond he now shared with the Empress was a sign that hope could thrive even in the deepest darkness. Their alliance, built on trust and compassion, promised a future where every life had value and every heart could make a difference. The galaxy was on the brink of a great change. Joran, Empress Aurora, and their new coalition of diverse beings from many worlds had gathered in a vast space station that orbited a quiet blue planet. Their meeting place was called Unity Point, a symbol of hope and strength. Leaders from many species had come together under one banner. They all believed that the light of hope and unity could overcome the dark force that threatened their way of life. For many months, warnings had come from distant outposts about an advancing force that sought to control and divide the stars. This force, composed of cold machines and unyielding agents, had already touched several worlds. Their presence was like a shadow creeping over the bright lights of freedom. But at Unity Point, the coalition had spent days planning and preparing. Joran, with his simple heart and steady determination, had risen as one of the leaders. His words were calm and encouraging, and his belief in the power of kindness had united those who listened. In the early light of the day, the coalition gathered in the command hall of Unity Point. The room was filled with maps, star charts, and simple diagrams that showed the paths of the coming challenge. Empress Aurora, standing at the front, explained the plan in a clear, gentle tone. "Today, we set forth to protect our galaxy. Our strength lies not only in our skill or our technology, but in our unity and our belief in hope. Each one of you is important, and together, we can guide the stars back to light." Joran listened intently as the Empress spoke, He remembered the many trials he had faced in the celestial citadel, and how each challenge had taught him that even the simplest act of kindness could have a deep impact. Now, those lessons would be put to the test. The coalition would need to work as one. Joran felt both a heavy responsibility and a bright hope in his heart. The battle began in the quiet vastness of space. Instead of a single, fierce encounter, the conflict unfolded in many smaller moments, like drops of water joining to form a mighty river. Small skirmishes took place at the edges of distant star systems. Joran led a group of brave pilots aboard sleek, well-prepared vessels. They moved slowly and carefully through the dark void, guided by the steady light of distant suns. Their task was not to destroy but to disable the strange, controlling devices that the dark force had spread among the stars. Each encounter was met with careful planning. One fleet, from a world known for its skill with energy and light, worked to disrupt the signals that allowed the dark force to communicate. Another group, drawn from peaceful worlds that valued art and music, used their creative skills to spread messages of hope to distant outposts. In every small battle, the coalition showed that fighting did not have to mean cruelty or harsh words. Instead, they used skill, strategy, and a firm belief in the goodness of all life. At one crucial moment, as the fleet approached a small, dim star that the dark force had targeted, a sudden challenge arose. The dark agents had set up a barrier around the star that blocked all signals. It was a test of will and ingenuity rather than strength alone. Joran and his team gathered in their small vessel, speaking in low, steady voices. They shared memories of their homes, their families, and the simple joys that made life worth protecting. In that moment of quiet unity, they discovered a new plan. Instead of attacking with force, they used the light from their ships and a careful burst of energy to break the barrier apart. The dark shield flickered and then faded, allowing the star's natural light to shine once more. Back at Unity Point, Empress Aurora watched the reports with a calm smile. Every small victory made the collective bond of the coalition stronger. The people of many worlds now saw that even in the face of a dark and cold force, hope could be the greatest weapon of all. The battle was not won by strength alone, but by the simple courage to stand together, to share one's heart, and to lift each other up in the hardest times. In another sector of space, a group of peaceful traders and farmers from a distant planet were under threat. They had long been isolated and felt forgotten by the larger worlds. When the dark force began to close in on their planet, a small task force led by a kind but brave captain arrived. The captain spoke gently to the people, assuring them that they would not be left behind. The task force helped to protect their fields and homes, working carefully to disarm the devices that had been set up by the dark agents. This small act of kindness and strength rekindled the hope of an entire community. As the days passed, more and more victories were achieved by the coalition. Though the dark force was strong and persistent, it could not overcome the light of unity. Each new battle showed that a heart filled with hope could inspire others to act with courage. Joran moved from one fleet to another, sharing stories of kindness from his own life at Heliosport. He reminded everyone that no act was too small when it came to protecting life and freedom. At last, as the coalition pushed back the dark force from the outer edges of the galaxy, a great calm began to settle. The stars shone brightly again, and the bright blue of distant planets returned to view. The battle for the stars had not been easy, and many had given much of themselves to see the victory. Yet through every test and every trial, the simple truth had emerged. The strength of unity, the power of hope, and the courage found in every kind act could brighten even the darkest of nights. As Unity Point celebrated the hard-won peace, Empress Aurora and Joran stood together on a balcony that overlooked a sea of twinkling stars. Their eyes met in quiet understanding. They knew that this victory was only the beginning. The road ahead would require care, wisdom, and continued faith in the goodness of every being. But tonight, the galaxy had found its light again, and together they had shown that even in the face of overwhelming odds, hope could lead the way. The stars above Unity Point shimmered like tiny lanterns in the vast sky, each one a witness to the great battle that had changed the galaxy forever. The coalition had succeeded in pushing back the dark force, and peace was beginning to return. Yet, even with victory secured, Joran knew that this was not the end of his journey. It was the beginning of something new. Joran stood on the balcony of Unity Point, looking down at the great halls below. The once busy war rooms were now filled with laughter and celebration. Pilots, soldiers, scientists, and leaders from many different worlds gathered together, sharing stories of courage and unity. The air was filled with a sense of relief, but also of hope for what lay ahead. For the first time in many months, people smiled without worry. Empress Aurora approached Joran, her steps light, but filled with quiet grace. "You have done well, Joran," she said, her voice warm. "But the true challenge is not just winning a battle. It is building a future that keeps the peace alive." Joran turned to her, thoughtful. He had never considered himself a leader. He had been just a simple man from Heliosport, living an ordinary life, until fate had guided him here. Yet, standing beside the most powerful woman in the galaxy, he realized something important. True leadership was not about holding power. It was about inspiring others to believe in something greater than themselves. They walked together through the great halls, where different beings from all corners of the galaxy sat in circles, sharing meals and laughter. These were once strangers, some even enemies, but today they were united. Joran saw an elder from a desert world speaking with a young pilot from a frozen planet. He saw warriors sharing food with peaceful scholars. The differences that once separated them now seemed small. Empress Aurora paused before a large map of the galaxy that glowed softly in the dim light. "This is the world we fought for," she said, tracing her fingers over the shining stars. "Not a galaxy ruled by fear, but one guided by understanding." Joran nodded. "How do we keep this peace?" he asked. "The darkness is gone, but what if it returns?" The Empress smiled. "We do not fight darkness with more darkness," she said. "We fight it with light, with kindness, with knowledge, and most of all, with unity. That is the lesson you have shown us, Joran." The words struck deep in his heart. He had spent so much time believing he was just a small part of something bigger, but now he understood that every small action had a ripple effect. Every act of kindness, every word of encouragement, every moment of hope, it all mattered. As they walked further, a messenger approached them. "The council is ready," he announced with a respectful bow. Joran and Aurora entered the council chamber, where leaders and representatives of many worlds had gathered. The council had been formed in the wake of the battle, not to rule, but to guide the future. This was the first meeting of a new era, and Joran felt honored to be a part of it. One by one, the council members spoke. Some talked of rebuilding their homes, others of protecting trade routes, and some simply shared their dreams of a peaceful future. The atmosphere was hopeful, but also cautious. They knew that peace was fragile and that they had to work together to protect it. Then, Empress Aurora stood, and the room fell silent. "The war is over," she said, her voice steady and clear. "But our work has only begun. If we wish to keep the darkness at bay, we must not allow fear to divide us. We must build bridges, not walls. We must remember that no being is too small to make a difference." Her eyes met Joran's, and she continued, "And we must learn from those who remind us of what truly matters." Joran felt every gaze turned to him, and for a moment, he hesitated. He had never been one for speeches, but he took a deep breath, remembering all that he had been through. "I am not a warrior," he began. "I do not command armies. I do not lead great fleets. But I have learned something important on this journey. Strength is not just in power, it is in kindness, in the way we treat each other, in the simple acts of trust that bring us together." He paused, then continued, "If we want to protect this peace, we must hold on to that kindness. We must never forget that even the smallest light can push away the dark. The room was quiet for a moment. Then, slowly, a ripple of nods spread through the council. A sense of purpose filled the air. Joran knew that they had taken the first step towards something truly lasting. In the days that followed, Unity Point became more than just a station. It became a symbol of the galaxy's new beginning. New alliances were formed, trade routes were reopened, and worlds that had once been enemies found common ground. Joran continued to work alongside Empress Aurora, helping to shape this new future. He traveled from system to system, meeting with leaders, sharing ideas, and always carrying the message that had guided him from the start. Hope was stronger than fear. As time passed, his name became known not as a warrior, but as a peacemaker. And though he never sought fame, his actions inspired many. He remained the same humble man from Heliosport, but now he was part of something far greater. One evening, as he stood once more on the balcony of Unity Point, Empress Aurora joined him. The stars stretched endlessly before them, a reminder of how vast the universe was. "You have done more than you realize, Joran," she said softly. "You have given the galaxy something priceless, a reason to believe." Joran smiled. "And what about you, Empress?" he asked. "What will you do now?" Aurora looked out at the stars. "I will continue to guide, to protect, and to learn. But I will not do it alone. The future is in all of our hands now." Joran nodded, understanding that his journey was not over. The galaxy still had challenges ahead, but he no longer feared the unknown. He had learned that even the smallest actions could change the course of history, and as long as there were those willing to stand for hope, the light of unity would never fade. As the first light of a new day stretched across the horizon, Joran and Aurora stood side by side, watching as a new chapter in the galaxy's story began. And with hope in their hearts, they stepped forward into the dawn of a brighter future.